for accelerated development and will fix the economy as we unite against poverty, create sustainable jobs under our Ejumapa program, promote good governance, integrity, anti-corruption, transparency, and accountability, and deepen the international relations amongst our sister nations. Uniting against poverty, that is the economy. Ghana's economy is not working for the people, it's working for only a few. Ghana's economy is not working for the people, it's working for only a few. We will fix the economy and make it work for all Ghanaians. We'll fight the disastrous effect of the poor economic management of this administration. The NDC has the experience to turn around this dire economic situation to bring relief to the suffering masses of Ghana. We will sanitize the financial sector. On the macro front, unprecedented mounting public debt, depreciating cedi, amongst others, are all a telltale sign of an economy in deep distress. We will roll out prudent macroeconomic measures anchored in sound management. We will bring the public debt under control. We will stabilize and strengthen the long-suffering cedi, reduce inflation, ensure a low progressive taxation regime, and restore inclusive growth. We'll make the business environment friendly again, provide unprecedented job-related stimulus packages for the private sector, and most importantly, increase Ghanaian participation and stake in our economy. And we'll put an end to the vindictive targeting and collapse of Ghanaian businesses and its attendant job losses. We've done all this before. We ensured the most stable and prosperous period of economic management in Ghana's history. We ensured the highest ever GDP growth rate in the history of Ghana. We ensured the longest sustained period of single-digit inflation in economic management in the history of Ghana. We implemented fiscal prudence and for the first time managed the 2016 budget with zero borrowing from the central bank. The NDC established the Ghana Exim Bank to promote jobs and exports. The NDC will again generate economic growth that creates infrastructure and sustainable jobs. We will usher Ghana into an era of shared prosperity, and all Ghanaians will reap the fruits of their labor. We need to turn our beloved country Ghana into an advanced one, and we must eradicate poverty. It is possible, and we will do it. How will we achieve these targets? How will we achieve these targets? We will then exempt small businesses from paying corporate and personal income tax. That is to re-inject their profits back into the businesses. We estimate that this will involve about 1.4 billion Ghana cedis a year. The best stimulus you can inject back in order to expand small and medium enterprises. For medium-sized Ghanaian businesses, we will reduce the corporate income tax rate from 25% to 15% in order to give them breathing room to be able to reinvest in and grow their businesses. But very interesting, we will exempt newly established medium-sized companies that employ up to 20 people or 20 workers from paying corporate income tax for the first year when they are establishing the business. This is important because the most critical time in establishing a business is the first year when you are investing. And when you're investing, it's not the right time for government to come asking you to bring money. And so we will give them that relief. And for businesses that employ 20 or more, medium-sized businesses, they will get corporate tax exemption for 2 years so that they can establish the business properly and expand the business to employ more people. We'll exempt commercial vehicles and other commercial equipment imported into the country from commercial, industrial, and agricultural purposes from import duty. We will review the Customs Amendment Act 2020, that's Act 1014, to scrap the law banning the importation of salvage vehicles to scrap I think Thank you. To scrap the law banning the importation of salvage vehicles and the proposed imposition of a 35% import duty rate. We are going to scrap it, and in order that salvage vehicles are not banned, and the top duty rate that government proposes to impose on these vehicles does not happen. This is to save the local automotive industry so that our people in Swami Magazine, Konkompe, Aboseokai, Thank you.
Peace FM.
Thank you.
Peace FM.
Thank you.
Peace FM. Peace
Thank you.
FM.
Thank you. Thank you.
Tune it in.
This is to allow our people in the local automotive industry in Swami Magazine, Konkombe, Aboseokai, to continue to work to earn a decent living. We encourage vehicle assembly plants investing in Ghana as a complement to our local industry, not to cancel out our local industry. We'll reverse the decoupling of VAT 12.5%, NHIL 2.5%, Get Fund 2.5%, which has brought untold hardship onto Ghanaian businesses and households. We will introduce a rural investor incentive package to create meaningful employment opportunities for the youth, especially in rural areas, and investors in rural communities. Under this program, they will be exempted from dividend and capital gains tax. And then B, if they employ up to 50 persons, they will be granted tax exemptions and further incentives on the importation of capital equipment. We'll provide special tax incentives for indigenous value chain industries such as mineral processing, petroleum-based industries, agro-based, pulp and paper industries in order to unlock sustainable job opportunities. Among others, we'll review the Rent Act to provide tax incentives to landlords and real estate investors to reduce the cost of rent advances for residential and commercial purposes. Restructure the Rent Control Office into a Ghana Rent Authority to effectively implement the new Rent Act in the interest of tenants and landlords. We will increase the District Assembly's Common Fund back to 7.5% from the 5% that the current government has put it. This will make sure that enough revenue goes to the district assemblies to function effectively and provide adequately for people in the decentralized districts and also for people with disabilities. We'll promote local content for local contractors in all sectors of the economy to increase the contribution of Ghanaians to a minimum of 55% of GDP and improve Ghanaian ownership and participation of our economy. Amend the Public Procurement Act to give priority to Ghanaian businesses in the award of contracts financed from public funds. Within a year in office, we will pay the full amount due every victim of the reckless handling of the financial sector cleanup. Conduct a forensic audit on the entire financial sector cleanup exercise, including the Ghana Amalgamated Trust. Set up a financial services authority to regulate the financial service industry, protect consumers, and ensure fair competition in the financial service sector. Ensure a well-tiered financial system to cater for the various segments of the market, such as SMEs. The idea behind this is you don't need every bank to have a capital reserve of 400 million. So we'll create several tiers so that there will be banks that want to lend to small and medium enterprises, and a capital reserve of 100 million will be enough for them. Amend the National Pensions Act 2008, Act 766, to improve both service delivery and financial efficiency of the SNIT pension scheme. Allow contributing workers, such as private teachers, amongst others, who lose their jobs suddenly due to natural occurrences, such as COVID-19 pandemic, to be paid stipends while they search for a new job. And this is important. Allow workers who have contributed for a minimum period of 10 to 15 years to use their contribution as collateral to access mortgage loans for housing. We will pay pensioners, and they'll be happy about this, an annual 13th month bonus. Under the Ghana Framework for Industrial Revitalization, Support and Transformation, which we call Ghana First, we will boost the real sector of the economy. And the 16 strategic growth areas are going to be agriculture and agro-processing, pharmaceuticals, health tourism, light manufacturing, including apparels, accessories and assemblages, educational service exports, financial services, furniture, ICT business services and logistics, oil and gas, petroleum sector, strategic minerals including salt, tourism, tree crop development, coastal landscape and forest management, afforestation, infrastructure, construction, waste management and recycling, and high-tech manufacturing, including chemicals. To stimulate economic growth and create opportunities for sustainable jobs through agri-business, we will realign the Ministry of Food and Agriculture into a Ministry of Agriculture and Agribusiness. This is to capture the full value chain, because we've concentrated only on production, and when we have produced, we don't have the capacity to process the produce and make them available to the market. We'll put Ghana on the path of self-sufficiency in the production of commodities and also for exports. We'll delineate agro-production and processing zones for medium to large-scale production. These include examples like Brong-Ahafo is the leading producer of cashew nuts, but yet we don't have an active cashew processing capacity in Brong-Ahafo. And so we'll put that in. There are places that are good at ginger production. We'll process the ginger into ginger powder, ginger oil for export. There are places that are producing rice. We'll put rice milling equipment so that we can mill the rice for the local market and, if possible, for export. Provide micro-processing equipment to farmers, to farmer cooperatives. For instance, in the palm oil growing area, if you give a group of farmers, a cooperative, a small processing mill to be able to process their palm oil for the market, it will add value to what they are doing. In the cocoa sector, cocoa processing for value addition will ensure the processing of at least 50% of our cocoa beans locally before we export. We'll restore the distribution of fertilizer inputs and free fertilizer inputs and seedlings to cocoa farmers. Support small cocoa processing companies and artisanal cocoa products, process and market finished and semi-finished cocoa products, in addition to raw cocoa beans, amongst many others. Government support to pharmaceutical industries. Roll out a pharmaceutical industry financial and technical support program. We've done this in the past. When I was president, we financed the pharmaceutical industries to the tune of 50 million Ghana cedis, and it enabled some of them to be able to begin to export into the sub-regional market. We will enhance this so that Ghana becomes a hub for pharmaceutical manufacturing in West Africa. We'll develop a national policy to restructure the small-scale mining sector. We'll set up what we call a gold board. This board will be responsible for small-scale mining sector to provide mining support services, and especially in the area of safety. We will attach mining safety officers and graduates from the University of Mines and Technology to all small-scale mining companies to ensure that they do the mining in safety and according to the regulations. We'll train small-scale miners in land reclamation techniques as a critical component of their operations. We'll promote legally and properly operated medium and small-scale mining to become attractive and well-paid business ventures, creating jobs for our youth. We'll reissue confiscated legitimate mining licenses to miners. For persons whose mining concessions have been illegitimately seized, we shall return the concessions to the legitimate owners. We will track down and take back all excavators that are missing. And we will return the excavators to their rightful owners. We will establish mini gold refineries in the gold-producing regions of our country in conjunction with the private sector. And we will halt the export of unrefined gold produced by small-scale mining companies. The central bank will play a role in financing and certificating high-quality gold bullion for export. We will hold a portion of our international reserves in gold to help stabilize our economy and our currency. Many other things. I will increase demand for locally manufactured goods, and we'll use government's purchasing power to stimulate demand for made-in-Ghana goods by directing all MDAs to patronize made-in-Ghana goods. We'll encourage the private sector to establish marketing companies to service local SMEs and manufacturers. And then it continues. We'll modernize our markets using a mini KJTR model. And so markets like Aflao, Mankesim, Techiman, Markets like Aflao, Mankesim, Techiman, and others will get a smaller version of a KJTR market. Promote local production of hygiene goods, especially for women, including sanitary pads, through training and support for startups. Revive the textile industry by providing support to local textile companies such as Akosombo and Drop-on Textiles. Establish agro-processing factories in various districts in collaboration with the private sector, such as fruit processing in Lower Manya, cashew processing in Bono and Bono East, amongst others. Now the big push, 10 billion big push. And I'll rush through this very quickly. The $10 billion big push for infrastructure development and economic transformation will involve an investment of $10 billion over 5 years. It will transform our economy in furtherance of our 1 million jobs plan. Projects under the big push will be executed in all cases by Ghanaian registered companies that pay the taxes in Ghana. This is to ensure that the money circulates within Ghana. And so if you want to participate, your business should be registered in Ghana and pay taxes in Ghana. These investments will stimulate and grow indigenous Ghanaian businesses. The 10 billion investment will be directed to stimulate the economy by sourcing as much as possible locally available materials and products for the execution of the projects. Now, key areas under the big push: provide infrastructure for agriculture and agribusiness, such as warehouses, silos, irrigation dams, farmer service centers, etc. Develop regional digital and innovation centers. Develop 5G technology. Upgrade and dualize all our major national roads. Complete the Eastern and Western Corridor roads. Upgrade other major national highways, urban and feeder roads. Expand the railway network by implementing the 2014 Railway Master Plan. Construct a domestic airport in Upper East Region. The land was secured when I was president, and it's a project that we will continue. Extend the runway of the Kumasi International Airport to accommodate bigger aircrafts. Upgrade the Sunyani Airport. Engineer and construct major markets, starting with Aflao, Mankesim, Techiman, Kintampo, Sampa, Elubu, Nima, and Asesewa. Construct social housing in all districts of the country. Expand rural electrification. Water supply, sewage, and sanitation systems. Complete all abandoned hospital and health projects. Construct new district and regional polyclinics, health centers, and CHIPS compounds in all the districts. Construct 2 new infectious disease centers. Expand the 37 military hospital as the national emergency center. Complete all the E-blocks and the abandoned community day secondary schools. Construct new schools at the basic level by removing schools under trees and other substandard schools. Provide universities in the new regions that do not have any. Build modern theaters and studios for the development and promotion of the creative arts. Complete feasibility and continue the implementation of a specialized port on the eastern seaboard of our country, and that refers to Keita. Construct a multi-purpose convention and exhibition center aimed at repositioning Ghana as West Africa's destination for meetings, conferences, and exhibitions. Refurbish the National Theatre. Upgrade NAFTI into a fully fledged multimedia university for film, arts, theater, and music. Upgrade the National Sports College into a state-of-the-art sports university to serve the West African sub-region. Provide sports development facilities across the region, including stadia, mini stadia, and other facilities. Upgrade infrastructure linking tourism sites. Complete and operationalize the Swami and Dawa industrial parks. Establish new industrial parks and free zones in the industry-deprived regions. And under the 1 million jobs plan, which we have christened Ejumapa, will generate an average of 250,000 decent jobs every year. Our job creation policies would be rapidly deployed through needed interventions that are applied to ensure that all sectors of the economy give priority to the creation of sustainable and decent jobs. The 1 million jobs will be anchored on the big push, an aggressive infrastructure development for jobs. The 10 billion investment over 5 years will stimulate the economy and provide opportunities for businesses to grow, create new entrepreneurs, and employ more people. A national apprenticeship program to train technically skilled human resources for rapid industrialization, job creation, and entrepreneurship will be implemented. NAP, as we call it, will target 500,000 out-of-school youth, including Kayaye. Government will bear the cost of fees for their training, and they'll receive startup kits on completion of their training. What this means is that we'll register master craftsmen in all the districts around the country. We'll register youth that are interested in going as apprentices to learn a skill, and we'll pay the master craftsmen to train them. And when they are finished, we'll give them the kits that they need to start work, whether sewing machines or hair dryers. Through a number of tax exemptions, micro, small, and medium enterprises will be able to plow back their profits. Drive the digitization of the economy to provide new jobs. Encourage establishment of new businesses, focusing on exports to help create more job opportunities. Provide free training in coding to young people across the country. Engage a minimum of 300,000 beneficiaries under the Youth Employment Agency, focused on skills acquisition. Legalize and regulate Okada. Legalize and regulate Okada business in order to make it safer and be an avenue for employment. Convert the labor office into a national employment center with offices in all the regions. Persons seeking jobs can register online, and employers who recruit from the National Employment Center database will receive tax incentives. It will also compile and maintain a national employment dashboard to track the number of jobs created every year. And getting to the end, social housing. Roll out social housing, I said that already, in every district. Implement a national mortgage assistance scheme and rent-to-pay agreements over 15 to 20 years. So if you are working and you have between 15 and 20 years to the end of your working life, you can be allocated one of the houses. The money you'd have paid for rent, you use it to pay and own the house. The mortgages will be priced in cedis, not in dollars, so that we insulate the house owners from the escalating value of the dollar. The rest is expand GIFEC to create a digital economy development fund to promote entrepreneurs with emphasis on youth and females. So GIFEC will help young entrepreneurs who want to go into digital services. Roll out a solid digital infrastructure to generate incremental value of more than 5 billion in a year. Develop a digital Ghana master plan. Ensure the efficient transfer of digital technologies and skills to unleash the innovative and entrepreneurial potentials of our young people. Commence the building of a national information highway, that's the Ghana Broadband Network, which utilizes 5G and fiber optic technologies. Move to an affordable universal licensing regime, including 5G, that allows flexibility for telecom companies to tap into new technologies. Identify and support young people to develop e-applications to support the delivery of public services. Introduce a uniform transactions fee to guide the electronic payments industry. Migrate all persons to government payments onto electronic platforms. This is to speed up the achievement of a cashless society. And so these are some of the programs planned. There are many. It's a quite detailed manifesto. And so I'll take a break here and I'll invite my running mate to go through some portions on human development, and then after that I will come and wrap up. Nana. Welcome again.
Station
Peace FM.
School children, free teachers,
Yes, it was a brutal decision, but it was not planned. Pharaoh was it was not planned at all. And if I can collect a lot of people, the former president, Ford's brother complained about it. A lot of people complained about it.
Peace FM.
Went ahead and implemented it.
Sampani putu sam already non kosuna B7 so penny sampani putu sam already non kosuna B7 station papa babonu matiasie and sandang boa
Peace FM, station with a vision. 104.3. Peace FM, 104.3. Peace FM.
Your Excellency, please allow me to refer to the protocol already established and to thank everybody for being here, those who are physically here, those who are watching from elsewhere. We are very grateful for your attention. Today is September 7th, and we are exactly 3 months away from the 2020 presidential and parliamentary elections. This election will be historic in many ways. It will be the first time that such an election has been conducted in the midst of a global pandemic. It will be decided by the largest electorate in the nation's history. It will be the first in the Fourth Republic to be contested by a former president and the first in which a major party's ticket will feature a woman. But the moment also brings with it another more important, more urgent historical milestone, and that should guide our priorities as a people and shape the focus of our government in the years to come. This will be the youngest electorate in the history of this nation. 7 out of every 10 people who registered to cast a ballot on December 7th were born about a decade before the Fourth Republic. Nearly half of them have only ever known Ghana as a multi-party democracy. Isn't that interesting? And so, in many ways, this election is about the future of the many millions who make up a rising generation with grand global aspirations for themselves, for their culture, and for their country. It is their ambitions, their energies, and their self-belief that will write the next chapters in Ghana's history. The future of this nation, its fortunes, and its very fate hinges on their ability to attain their fullest potential. The passion, positivity, and promise of the youth are the fuel for any serious agenda for the future of this country. It is for this reason that we must be invested in the success of the teeming youth of this country. Why we must be absolutely relentless in our determination to create a social, economic, cultural, and political environment that allows them to prosper and live dignified lives in a nation they can be proud of. And in many respects, it is about jobs, sustainable jobs. We cannot guarantee them, the youth, equality of outcomes, but we should certainly guarantee them equality of opportunity. This is the commitment of the People's Manifesto. The reason why we were not swayed by the criticism that by going to the people, and the people, the list includes the chiefs, the artisans, students, farmers, traders, teachers, market women, professionals, and so on, and inviting them to be active participants in policies that will affect their own lives meant that the NDC lacked ideas. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, do allow me to state that any plan that excludes the agency of the recipient is at best an alienating effort. As a party that respects people regardless, our manifesto must perforce carry the voices and hopes of our people, who will eventually own the outcomes. The easiest process would have been to lock a few people in a room for a couple of weeks, backed by consultants who have no clues, who sometimes have no clue as to the concrete reality of the life of the people of our country, and then call the outcome a manifesto for Ghana. At the core of the concerns expressed was human development. And distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the economy is about human development, no more, no less. It is about building a strong, well-educated, healthy country that protects the vulnerable, creates and sustains spaces for the aspirations of everyone to develop to their full potential, and rightly so. For Ghana can only rise to the challenges and opportunities of the 21st century if we face it with the full complement of our ingenuity and talent. And we can only do it if we eliminate the barriers of gender, geography, poverty that excludes so many people from reaching their potential. This, my friends and countrymen, is the work of the next 4 years and a prerequisite for the future that lies beyond. We owe it to our youth, especially to their determination to succeed, their ambitions, unlimited energies, and intellectual prowess that one finds everywhere in our country, to help raise their levels of confidence to believe that they can overcome their general current cynicism and pervading frustration and become hopeful. And we know that the disappointments and disillusionment of the last few years means we must proffer concrete plans and not just promises. We will not offer our youth charity. We will collectively work towards making them truly independent. This explains everybody's involvement in crafting this manifesto, especially the voices of our youth. This is the commitment of the People's Manifesto to the youth of Ghana. The manifesto highlights. Please permit me to share the highlights of the wishes of the people, of our people, in these critical areas, beginning with education. The underlying principles reside in the conviction that every Ghanaian, regardless, deserves quality, relevant education with a thrust towards inclusive education, lifelong learning that admits varying skills and competencies. We don't all have to do the same thing. We have a plan for education. The next NDC government will commence the Next Generation Education Initiative. This is a program that will enable the Ghana Education Service to provide basic and senior high school students access to interactive remote learning. This investment, and actually we started that in our previous term with the iCampus Ghana and the iBox. This investment in the future will enhance the availability of digital learning resources for schools by integrating technology into the learning environment, ensuring universal internet access to these institutions, and providing students and teachers with devices. We intend to bring our education system into the 21st century. These tools and technologies will facilitate digital teaching and learning and keep teachers and students connected in and out of the classroom. Most importantly, it will improve the quality of education. It will encourage intellectual curiosity, and it will help us close the inequalities in our education system. We have every plan and desire to make the free SHS much better by ensuring that its numerous challenges are addressed and that higher operational and academic standards are introduced and sustained. To do this, we will abolish the double track system. And as His Excellency has already said, we will complete all abandoned structures for secondary and technical education. This includes the score of E-blocks abandoned by this government for no justifiable reason. These measures will allow us to cater for current and future students. And we plan to make the free SHS more inclusive by expanding it to cover students in private senior high schools, in underserved and deprived parts of our country. I had a singular privilege of leading one of Ghana's premier universities, and I have seen close up the challenges that tertiary students face, and of course those of their families and their friends too. And this informs our agenda for the nation's universities and their students. First, please let me reiterate that we are unequivocally and unashamedly opposed to the Public University Bill. It is a weak attempt to introduce political control over our universities, and to erode academic freedom and institutional autonomy. We stand with the faculty and leadership of our public universities in opposing this grotesque overreach. We know how COVID-19 has impacted an already weak economy and personal finances, and we must not let this become another barrier to opportunity. That is why the next NDC administration will absorb 50% of fees for tertiary students for the 2020-2021 academic year as an incentive to mitigate the effects of COVID-19 on students and their families. As a long-term investment in financial access beyond the recovery, we intend to increase the student loan amounts to be commensurate with prevailing educational costs. We will restore the Student Loan Plus initiative that we created, which takes care of newly admitted students who are facing financial difficulty even in paying the admission fees. These loan repayments will only begin when beneficiaries gain employment after school. We also recognize that many inequities that virtual learning during this pandemic has laid bare. So we will provide free laptops to tertiary students to facilitate participation in online classes. We will also establish free Wi-Fi zones in all public and private tertiary institutions.
Peace FM.
His Excellency has already talked about the establishment of new universities. Our commitment to increasing access to education is at the heart of our free TVET policy. It is a plan to provide the free technical and vocational education at the secondary and tertiary levels. We will complement this with a program for the establishment of an ultra-modern and fit-for-purpose technical institutes in the regions that do not have any. And to maximize early career opportunities, we will also implement a national apprenticeship program and a national internship program. We shall address head-on the problem of examination malpractices and restore the credibility and sanctity of examinations conducted by WAEC. Quality education also depends on having good teachers, well-trained teachers, and having enough of them. So we will abolish the mandatory national service and teacher licensure examination for graduate teachers. And we will restore the automatic employment of newly trained teachers to improve the teacher-student ratio across the country, whilst we consider those who have studied via distance. Now, healthcare. We have a plan for better healthcare and improved public health. We in the NDC believe that quality, affordable treatment should not be determined by where you live or how much money you earn. These barriers to cost and distance continue to exclude millions of Ghanaians from care that they need, causing them to delay seeking care or to forgo it altogether. This is why the next NDC government is going to institute the free primary health care, and I think this will be well articulated by our flag bearer. The primary care is just one piece of the puzzle. We need to build more clinics, as he has said, train more people in diverse healthcare delivery. To maximize the reach of our healthcare system, we will deploy the abandoned Oniado mobile clinic vans to take healthcare to the underserved and to the hard-to-reach communities. And we will build and introduce the Onipenua Hospital ship to provide medical services to riverine and fishing communities along the Volta River that are inaccessible by road.
Peace
Chronic
FM.
illnesses are killing more and more Ghanaians, and they are killing them younger and younger. And it is adding insult to injury when healthcare costs make it difficult for them to get the treatments and medication they need to stay alive. So we will establish a cancer and kidney trust fund to support Ghanaians who need assistance for such conditions. To focus our attention on the grave risks that non-communicable diseases pose, we will also declare renal failure, diabetes, hypertension, a national health emergency. This will allow for an unprecedented investment towards providing better access to affordable treatment for persons suffering from these illnesses and who cannot afford to pay for them.
Peace
Much of the
FM.
cost of healthcare is determined by cost of medications. We will introduce a policy of framework contracting for pharmaceuticals in order to lower the cost of drugs in our health system. And we will empower the local pharmaceutical industry to produce more generics to feed the domestic drug market as we started in our last administration. Of course, we'll also look to our own indigenous knowledge systems for alternatives. And we will do this by collaborating with traditional herbal medicine producers for rapid integration of herbal medicine in Ghana's systems. But a healthcare system is only as good as the healthcare workers within it. How many they are, how diverse they are, how well trained they are.
Peace
So we will
FM.
employ qualified health professionals in search of work. We will train more personnel in domiciliary and palliative care to address the health care of the elderly and the sick. We will establish and initiate a plan for the Ghana College of Nurses and Midwives. And in honor of an African giant, we will establish the Professor Jacob Plange-Rule Endowment Fund for medical and surgical specialist training. A good healthcare system needs guardrails. We are at our most vulnerable when we are in need of care and must be able to trust healthcare workers to act professionally, to keep us safe, and to respect our dignity. So, in the interest of accountability, we plan to establish a Patients Protection
Peace
Council
FM.
to fully implement Patients' Rights Charter. But when healthcare workers distinguish themselves through excellence or sacrifice, that should be acknowledged and rewarded too. The next NDC government will institute a National Health Workers Day and establish an award scheme to deserving practitioners and facilities. And we will extend this to the private sector as well. But our health system must also be responsive to new realities. The perils of COVID-19 have shown the value of capital investment in health infrastructure. And no fair-minded person can ignore how critical the University of Ghana Medical School, the Ga East Hospital, the Bank Hospital, and many others have been to Ghana's
Peace
effort in this
FM.
pandemic. And kudos to our incoming president. While we cannot predict the next pandemic, we must be prepared. The lessons from COVID-19 are that a reactionary response will hamper our ability to contain the situation. and that has terrible consequences for our lives and for our livelihoods. So we must be proactive. We must conduct, and we will conduct, a thorough study of our public health and clinical response to COVID-19. We will review the economic incentives and reliefs to understand who really benefited from them. And we will conduct a value for money audit on procurement and spending during this pandemic, including pricing and availability of tests, protective equipment, and medications. We will make those findings public in the spirit of transparency and accountability. And those lessons will inform the development of a national infectious disease plan, one that allows us to mount a faster public health response, to provide more targeted economic support in its wake, to guard against the selfish greed of profiteers and fraudsters, to ensure politics does not triumph over truth and science, and ultimately to save lives. We owe our people equal opportunity to seek justice. Our newspaper headlines continue to show how poverty and gender can be barriers to legal recourse. These intersect in terrible ways to protect perpetrators of gender-based violence from the law. This is an affront to our own founding ideals of freedom and justice. So we intend to resource and operationalize the Victim Support Fund under the Domestic Violence Act. And we will implement the strategic plan of action to address gender-based violence. This is a commitment to provide mental health care for gender-based violence survivors, to create a national hotline to address gender-based violence, to harmonize the law to ensure survivors of gender violence, especially rape victims, are able to access free healthcare services, and to enforce the Trafficking Against Persons Act, and to ensure that poverty is no longer a barrier to competent representation in our courts. We will increase resources for public defenders and expand the Ghana Legal Aid Commission to increase access to justice for the poor and the indigent. So on social justice for our people with disabilities. Central to our political identity as social democrats is a belief of equity and inclusion. We are invested in removing the barriers that exclude any Ghanaian from reaching their full potential, especially those potentials of gender and disability that worsen inequality in our society. Ghanaians living with disabilities continue to inspire with their tenacity, with their resilience, and we as a society must meet them with humility, with humanity, and be responsive to their needs. And this should not be done out of pity, but out of a sense of justice and a desire to do what is right. I was proud to hear the promise that His Excellency John Mahama made to the disabled community in Wa last week. This government's decision to reduce the share, the current government's decision to reduce the share of the District Assembly Common Fund allocated to disabled persons by a third is not acceptable. It is a failure of moral leadership on this matter, and it shows lack of interest in equity and inclusion. And that is why we pledge to review this decision. And because inclusion often means physical access for persons with disabilities, we intend to expand and enforce the laws governing physical access to public buildings for persons with disability and to ensure compliance of government buildings across the nation. Again, this is a moral priority. It is not a political one. Our commitment to social justice extends to gender. I'm living proof of it. But as I said a few weeks ago, the measure of a person's character is how you extend privilege to others. I believe that by holding the doors open and making many more women have opportunity to participate in this, in nation building, we will receive other ideas, fresh perspectives that will bring to our nation's development, and that will also save our lives and guarantee the lifeblood of progress. Empowering more women will make our politics and governance more dynamic, more vibrant, more responsive, more inclusive. And in this hour of crisis, Ghana has never needed that freshness, energy, and optimism more than she does right now. Those of us as gatekeepers must recognize this. We must embrace it. We must facilitate others coming through the door. Therefore, the commitment to increase the participation of women in governance is not an idle one. We will focus that effort on the youth so that government of this country better reflects its gender and age demographics. The history of this nation has borne out over and over again the power and potential of young people, including women, to move justice, inclusion, and accountability in governance forward. And while this sometimes means political opportunities, it extends to so much more. That is why we intend to implement the Affirmative Action Bill. If it's not passed, we'll pass it, of course. This is a first step in the direction of justice for Ghanaian women and our centuries of contributions to this nation and the peoples that comprise it. But women face other challenges too. Poverty forces thousands of young girls in Ghana to miss as many as 5 days of school every month, simply because they cannot afford sanitary pads. This is unacceptable and it is unfair. So we will provide free sanitary pads for girls to ensure that a perfectly natural, perfectly normal part of their lives functioning does not become a barrier to education and a better life. So we will focus on girls under 20 who are in school. This is a problem we should have left behind us in the last century, and which we tried to address in our last government. Our opposition ridiculed this idea, but then let us hope the lessons of governance have made them much, much wiser. And as these girls become women, those complexes, those challenges become even more complicated, if not complex. For many young women in the workplace, having a child is a big decision because of what it can mean for their career trajectory. Balancing the demands of office life, the needs of a newborn, and the societal expectations around childcare present real challenges for working mothers. And when the kids are still babies, care and feeding means time off from work. 3 months certainly is not enough for that. Women often have to rely on their annual leave to supplement their maternity leave. And any mother will tell you that that means a whole year work with no time off. So we will extend maternity leave from 3 to 4 months. And we will also offer 7 days of paternity leave.
Peace FM.
Childcare itself becomes another obstacle. When young families cannot afford childcare, or have no one to lean on for support, it is the women whose careers and aspirations suffer the consequences. So as part of our plan to invest in early childhood development, we will work to ensure that creches, daycare centers, and nurseries for children are established in formal workplaces. For example, the ministries complex and, let's say, our markets too. But women also face unique threats. Sexual violence is one of them. Our current system of serving justice to victims and perpetrators is beneath the dignity of this nation and of the women who love and who nurture this nation. This needs to change.
Peace
and that
FM.
means comprehensive systemic reform. The time is now. So in addition to the criminal justice reforms that I've already outlined, we intend to abolish all charges for medical examinations for victims of sexual assault. It is an abominable disincentive for many women, and it is also only more so the poorer they are. This is morally unacceptable, and there's no justice in that. I want women of this country to know that these commitments we make for you today are also personal for me. I intend to see them done. We have waited for too long, and the time for action is now. We in the NDC believe that another measure of our national character is in how the most vulnerable are treated. We have a long way to go on this path, but we have a plan for that too. We intend to establish an orphan and vulnerable child support scheme as a special vehicle to protect the rights and interests of vulnerable children. And we will promote the construction and upgrading of shelters for vulnerable persons, such as survivors of gender-based violence and trafficked persons. And to my friends Akayaye in our urban centers, and those who form part of the extremely vulnerable group because of their gender or because of their poverty status, we will introduce skills training, social assistance programs in order to ensure that we stall the flow of such women into environments that are not protective at all. We will establish a center of excellence for training social workers to take care of vulnerable, including the elderly, and recognizing the needs and challenges of aging in our time. We will also amend the National Health Insurance Act to reduce the age of eligibility for premium payment under the National Health Insurance Scheme from 70 to 65. And recognizing the challenges that young persons living with disabilities face in accessing education, we are committed to providing them with free tertiary education. Our senior citizens deserve our respect and compassion, which comes and lynching of the aged do not belong to this era. The NDC is determined to stimulate public education and to change the fortunes of the elderly and to bring the perpetrators to book. The next NDC government will support the Department of Social Welfare to create day centers and homes for the aged, reactivate the urban elderly welfare card to enable Ghanaians above 60 years have priority access to social services, and we shall amend Section 29H of the National Health Insurance Act 2012 to enable all persons aged 60 and above to be exempt from premium payment under the NHIS. The NDC recognizes historical inequalities between our Zongo's deprived urban settlements and other communities. the next NDC government will provide regular funding through the District Assembly Common Fund for the development of the Zongos and deprived urban settlements to bridge the inequality gap, strengthen and resource the Islamic Education Unit under the Ghana Education Service, to enable the unit monitor and recruit more Islamic and Arabic tutors, establish 2 senior Islamic senior high schools in the southern and northern sectors for the Zongo communities and others, support the only Islamic College of Education, which we established during my tenure as Minister for Education, by revisiting abandoned infrastructure and providing logistics to enable them recruit and train more teachers. We shall award scholarships to brilliant but needy students in these deprived communities. And especially, we will focus on girls in medical, nursing, educational training. We also intend to provide mentorship programs and opportunities for the youth in these areas, support Arabic teachers in the Makaranta with monthly allowances, enroll youth in Zongo and deprived settlements into the National Apprenticeship Program, as well as ensure that they benefit under the free technical and vocational education and training, that is the free TVET. We will endeavor to ensure that a representative from the Muslim Ummah is placed on the board of the Ministry of Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs. It's all about fairness. It's all about equity.
Peace FM.
We shall liaise with some banks and other financial institutions to launch the Zongo Housing Scheme to provide support for affordable housing in the Zongos and deprived urban settlements. The NDC is committed to prioritizing youth development through various youth empowerment and entrepreneurship policies and programs. We take cognizance of the growing disappointment and frustration among the youth as a result of high unemployment, which has been worsened by ill-conceived and poorly managed policies of the current administration. The next NDC government will harness the potential of our youth by implementing comprehensive, multifaceted, and innovative programs. We will also provide a more effective institutional framework for empowering our youth for national development. We will have a stand-alone ministry for youth development. The Ministry for Youth Development will advance our youth empowerment agenda. It will mainstream and prioritize youth issues, coordinate the implementation of comprehensive youth development policies and related agencies, address the multifaceted issues confronting the various categories of youth in the country, coordinate entrepreneurship and skills training opportunities for all young persons, especially vulnerable youth groups, facilitate youth participation in decision-making at all levels for national development, build the capacities of our youth, and create more employment. Decentralize the labor office. His Excellency has already talked about it. The 1 Million Coders Program is an initiative that will be implemented through a public-private partnership to provide free training to about 1 million youth with knowledge and skills for coding and programming, web developing, apps developing, expand opportunities in the knowledge and ICT-based economy. In closing, I'll make a few comments. Our manifesto, the People's Manifesto, has been well thought out. What makes it credible is that we have a dependable track record to back it up. The people believe in us because if it is about infrastructure, if it is about healthcare facilities, if it is about schools, if it's about roads, our track record towers above that of anyone. We have no reason to falsely lay claim to projects initiated by another government and even forge non-existent ones. Ghanaians believe us because there's evidence of what we can do and what we do with the revenues and loans we contract. The people believe us when we say we are Democrats because we are. We do not hunt and taunt those who disagree with us because we cherish freedom of speech. We believe the true test of leadership is to eschew arrogance. We do not set out to collapse businesses of those who do not belong to our party. We are a party of fair-minded people. We believe in equal opportunity, and so we give every Ghanaian his or her due. We believe in adding to what we inherit. We do not destroy what others have toiled to create so that anyone will reap where they have not sown. What we have experienced in this country over the last couple of years does not augur well for our country. Nepotism, cronyism, masquerading as business is not good for us. Ghana should not endure more of that. Over the next 3 months, we will carry our message of progress and inclusion to every corner of our country. We look forward eagerly to contrast our vision for the next 4 years and beyond with any other contestants.
Peace FM.
This election is going to be about trust. It's going to be about judgment and vision. John Mahama showed all three in the first major decision he made as part of his governance plan for 2021 and beyond. That is His Excellency Mahama's vision for progress. And that is the vision I joined this ticket to help him to realize. I trust and I believe in this vision. I have seen close up his thoughtfulness and the great value he places on introspection. We share a belief that growth, personal or otherwise, always means change. The President Mahama I know always seeks wisdom in the words even of. He is interested in the views of everyone, especially the so-called common person.
Peace
Always his
FM.
abiding questions include, how does this suggestion help the poor, the vulnerable? How does this intervention improve lives? Such concerns resonate well with mine and no doubt with those of many others who also believe that voting is an expression of hope, of trust, of judgment, of faith. The power to extend must be returned in ways that uphold the dignity of human life. That improves the trust of the citizenry in institutions that are expected to be fair, transparent, and protective. That is the character of the man, and that is why I am proud to be his partner in this vision for jobs, prosperity, and more. That is the NDC, we are a party for everyone. The farmer, the fisherman, the educated, the non-educated, the teacher, the nurse, the vulnerable, the market trader, the hawker, everyone is welcome. We welcome everyone regardless of status or background. And we invite you all to join us in building a prosperous country in peace and togetherness for the benefit of all Ghanaians. What we will not accept is the premise that Ghana belongs to some elite few who arrogate to themselves the right to determine among themselves how to share our precious resources. Let there be no doubt that this country, our beloved country called Ghana, belongs to all of us, including generations unborn. Let our actions bear witness to that. And those who receive the high privilege of being elected to serve must jealously hold and guard the sacred trust of the people. This we pledge to do. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, please come join us. Let's spread the good news of the People's Manifesto. And on December 7th, join us again in reminding those who may have chosen to forget the truth that the people are the real owners of this country. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you. Please be seated.
Peace FM.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Let us conclude. And before I start, I'll acknowledge our traditional leaders. When I opened my remarks, I didn't mention them. We're happy. Thank you very much for taking time to join us. And just to fill in with Professor Nana, with regards to the Zongo and deprived urban communities, that's what we call it, not inner cities, Zongo and deprived urban communities. There's establishment of a microfinance fund for Zongos and deprived urban communities, and it's called the Soyeya Fund. The fund will be accessible to all people who live within Zongos and deprived urban communities, and it will not discriminate. In addition, I'll just mention a few things to do with sports, or as the sports fraternity will not forgive us. We'll establish a sports development fund, and we'll develop a comprehensive national sports policy to outline the vision and strategies for sports development in Ghana. Revive and invest in inter-school and colleges games in order to develop talent. For companies that invest in sports, we will facilitate tax exemption and tax relief regimes to motivate private sponsorship and promotion of sports. We will promote and provide funding for the lesser-known indigenous sports. We will ensure the successful hosting and organization of the 13th Africa Games to be hosted in Ghana in September 2023. We will continue and complete the new Edubiase Sports Stadium, and we'll establish sports stadia and other recreational facilities in communities and in all the districts. Now, this is an interesting one. We'll use the Sports Development Fund to assist the sports associations to provide and improve remuneration and welfare of local sportsmen and women. This fund will also be utilized to assist teams that qualify for continental competitions. This fund will assist them to be able to go and participate in the competition. And the final part, we'll vigorously reform and expand access to professional legal education. Honorable minority leader spoke about that. We'll provide opportunities for all qualified LLB holders by granting accreditation to certified law faculties to undertake the professional law qualification course. He spoke about that. We'll establish high courts in the 6 newly created regions, and We will decentralize the services of the appeals courts by providing facilities for the appeals courts in the Western, Northern, and Volta regions. We will pay assemblymen, members.
Peace FM.
Thank you. We will pay assembly members and give them responsibility for the collection of births and deaths statistics in their electoral areas. We will ensure the depoliticization of the civil and local government services. We will upgrade the whole Kaswa, Ashaman, Techiman, Koforidua, Sunyani, Bogatanga, Hohoi, and Wa municipal assemblies into metropolitan assemblies. We'll establish accounts for the disability fund in every district, and so the percentage meant for the disability fund will be paid into a special account. 50% will go to paying a stipend to recognize persons living with disability in the district, and the other 50% will be used to invest in projects that will benefit the persons living with disability. Security will implement the report of the inquiry into the Ayawaso West Wagon vigilante incident. We will empower the 48th Engineers Regiment to construct living accommodation for security personnel, to establish new military presence and installations across the country, especially in the new regions that do not have a military installation. We'll establish a new military training and recruiting academy for the northern sector of the country. We'll establish a police station, a district police station in every district where there is none. We'll review and enforce medical packages for both serving and retired personnel and their families. We'll review the compensation package for personnel who lose their lives or get injured in the line of duty. We'll clear the backlog of promotions and ensure timely promotion based on merit and transparency. We'll depoliticize the Ghana Armed Forces and restore discipline and loyalty to the state. We'll encourage and expand opportunities for non-commissioned officers, that's other ranks, to access officer cadet training where appropriate. We'll construct housing units and residential accommodation for the Ghana Armed Forces, refurbish dilapidated and abandoned housing units across the country, systematically review upward salaries and allowances of troops and their civilian employees, upgrade retirement benefits for personnel, establish armed forces home ownership schemes for armed forces personnel, complete and equip the Kumasi Military Hospital at Afari. Other things, I'll jump some of them. Establish armed forces agribusiness and processing units, revamp the defense industry to produce clothing, boots, and accessories for the Ghana Armed Forces and other security services. We'll expand and equip the Field Engineers Corps to undertake national emergency projects, including road construction, and be licensed to undertake commercial ventures of the Ghana government. We'll roll out transparent and accessible police education and scholarship scheme. We'll increase officer and residential accommodation for personnel of the Ghana Police Service. We'll complete the police hospital project.
Peace FM.
We'll construct a second police hospital in the northern part of the country. Complete the construction of the Dovsu headquarters, and I'm sure this is one that the police officers are waiting for. Use a yearly internal recruitment approach to grant amnesty to police personnel who privately acquired additional qualifications from recognized tertiary institutions, such that some of them can become officers each year through an accelerated promotion regime. We'll maintain the Cap 30 pension scheme for police service personnel. We'll implement the Ghana Prisons Decongestion Project. We'll modernize the prison system and make it more humane. We'll provide facilities to separate remand prisoners from convicted prisoners. We'll set up a special remand sentence review committee to review cases of persons accused of, light offenses. Encourage community service and other non-custodial sentences for minor offenders. Create well-equipped technical and vocational departments in all prisons. Ensure proper healthcare facilities in the prisons. Ensure safety and security of Ghanaians by reconstituting the joint military police anti-armed robbery patrols. We'll restore the visibility police. And so at every intersection, we'll have police in order to keep crime under control. We'll conduct investigations into the assassination of Ahmed Swali and other unsolved cases. Including the murder of the late Honorable J.B. Dankwa. We'll change the current climate of fear, intimidation, and harassment of the media. We'll continue the process towards passing the broadcasting bill. We'll develop a media development fund to support professional training of journalists and media organizations as part of COVID-19 relief package. The NDC will address the canker of nepotism and growing corruption. We'll restore the integrity and strengthen independent anti-corruption institutions, and they'll be at the forefront of our fight against corruption. We'll strengthen the anti-corruption institutions like TRAJ, IOCO, the Financial Intelligence Center, the Office of Special Prosecutor, and empower them to investigate all cases of corruption swept under the carpet by this administration. They will also be empowered and free to investigate any incidents of corruption under the next NDC administration.
Peace FM.
We'll introduce legislation to regulate agency representation and the conduct of business practices of multinational companies. This means that if a multinational company wants to do business in Ghana, it's not a crime to have an agent, but they will be compelled to disclose who their agents are for transparency, for purposes of transparency. Update the guidelines for political office holders developed and launched during my administration. The presidency shall not act as a clearinghouse for corrupt appointees. Launch Operation Sting as a major anti-corruption crusade. Be relentless in efforts against corrupt political appointees and public sector workers. Amend the law to enable publication and audit of assets declaration forms by political and public office holders.
Peace
Codify the conflict of interest situations. Make single source procurements or sole sourcing an exception and not the rule. Create a fairer emolument system and remove the distortions between Article 71 office holders and other public sector employees. Reduce drastically the current size of ministers and their deputies. Reduce the number of political appointees at the presidency and other institutions. Reduce the number of ministries in order to save cost. Continue and complete the constitutional review process. Depoliticize the civil and public services. Roll out an aggressive social housing plan to deliver a minimum of 20,000 low-income houses in all districts of Ghana. MMDAs will work with traditional authorities to acquire lands for the project. All materials for the housing will be sourced locally, and will implement a national mortgage assistance scheme for security services and other public sector employees. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank the National Manifesto Committee for the diligent work that they did. It has taken them many sleepless nights to to be able to complete this work. I believe that this is a manifesto that holds the key to the destiny of Ghana. It is possible, it is implementable, and I know that with the support of my running mate, Professor Nana Jenopoko Ajimai, the executives of our party and our government to be come January 7th, 2021, we will be able to implement this project, this manifesto. I know it's not going to be easy because we are looking at the numbers. We know we're going to inherit a very tattered economy. For those who pride themselves on economic management, I mean, they should really feel ashamed to hand over an economy like this to another administration. Highly distressed in terms of debt, budget and fiscal overruns, uncontrolled borrowing from the central bank now, and we understand the difficulties we're going to face. One of the first things we'll do is to achieve consensus on economic management. And so we will hold a second Senchi conference. For those of you who remember Senchi 1, which was boycotted by the NPP, I hope this time, even if they're in opposition, they will join us for Senchi 2 so that we achieve consensus on economic management and fiscal consolidation going forward. I want to thank our National Executive Committee for the emergency meeting this morning to approve the manifesto. At this juncture, I'll invite my running mate, Nana, to come up and join me as we launch the manifesto. It is our honor and privilege to declare the 2020 manifesto of the National Democratic Congress with the theme Jobs and Prosperity for All, the People's Manifesto, duly launched. We're also conscious of our persons living with disability. And so we did not only complete and launch the main manifesto, we also completed and we are launching today the Braille version of the NDC manifesto. Thank you very much, and God richly bless all of us. Thank you.
FM. Peace FM.
Awuzafo yeko UPSA ewo Accra hase ya kokofa NDC 2020 manifesto launch no ede ebremo na sene amatete nsem no afei eno omde dwumadie nyina aba na wieye na no nanka ya hyehyɛ dwumadie se ne ya wadomako be fi frimpone Alhaji Naziro Mohammed ena ebetwetwe nkomo so dwumadie no afa yebre no nti be simadunu machi na ya sɔre so baba sesi ya na babisa wo se simam ye nupe entem de course ni nyina no wote sen ofa ne sen ya duma ko ba fi so wa ha se wanya ba de onso betene nte ho ansa na ya sɔre mam simam ye nu ba sesi ya eti wutie akasabafo ahodo no a wo maka bibi di afa de NDC ba wono mbeye e de afa pomuden ho wo maka ngomasua agokansie bambo adasa setremu yedie ne nkoso me ba jo de hin na toba sumpa de na wotie 0302248787 257900257901 0302 248-787 257-900 257-901 248-787 257-900 257-901 then out here to wasumpa hello hello okay hello.
Good evening,
good evening.
I'm sorry, but me free call Bukurua.
Azora Majo, Pacho Tew, what are you saying?
Me will who papa.
Dear Hena, what are you who can it tiane uncle?
Say, I buy this Uye University or the certificate. I'm 1 year sick and dying. No, I hear Juma be a tia. Now, so with the 1 month or 2 or bar was say what nephew with the 1 month air the count. Where your policy?
Azora by fancy, I say, Mammy Miss also so, dear Hena, what say, and some a penful kind in your dear Hena, each hour soon. Say, oh, then you're there, and you're not me, because I say, dear Hen and I, what say, hello.
Hello, Nana.
Yes, sir.
Majo, Farouk Tamani.
Farouk Pamintio.
Namishra, Uniaba, Nana Madoko, Cropon, Social. Now, Nana, I never quite see, let me tell you, I'm sure, well, okay, be a reference of Minya Biaka. I never could tell Mama, me boy Fukua de Senchi, part 2 of the Bible. The last century, the year called word the year, Mata, I offer a freezing employment, no. Was that a century too? There's another, a mamma Sababium, the nursing sector, private 30,000 where you know what promising a bear qua.
Farouk made us say, my info for Homanso. Hello. Hello. Aye, Fafufro, no, you're ready to near Casa. Fafufro. Hello.
Hello, Nana.
Yes, sir. Afra. Hello. I want to show you your list to be doko. Hello.
Hello.
Pacho Manes Kakama be frozen.
Pacho Drew ni go mo de rambon.
Odro Pacho the end kwasum.
Yo mo ke masu me de. Eye kala na na blanco kufadu o se car nge ayo for H cars. Into one man na mentation because it's an Atos. Na Honda i10. If you go 20,000 available ato. But in there you can go to BMW. And I can go to car in 5 years. Man, I know what the Mr. 80,000 and 70,000 on the capital. And the majority of what's over is salvage. Dam Rana, what the Babaji and so yeah, some papa, I would have to have the money, Mamma. But that's it.
Mate, hello. Afra, hello.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Onum baby, everything about Brian.
The Abyssinia.
Aha. Zongo community no. Zongo community never say.
Me too, Pacho. Okay, Mate, my Fafufro. Hello.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Your friend Jonas. Because of the car to school at my work and my penny out to see are you winning and after you know, Deva. And you have a minute, Mamma, or at the table of the Wagan and money.
Mamma for last two. Namen quad Marco Befio. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Good evening.
Evening.
Nana, and no question in military academy. I'm telling you to you. Ah, former President Mama, that's what he wants. Yanko point you at Bran, so we organo. We just found some people and said, Yan Kolawa house. What they do, and I'm a week, and I'm a week, and I'm a week, and I'm a week, my week. Who catch us do so? Who's some do so? That's a panel.
Yarof. Last call. Hello.
Over.
Yes, sir.
Ananaya oni. Kasafi tabura.
Meet you, Mira.
Mamemo nabaso. Na Mira makubefi. Mamemo nabaso. Offer. You got Mahama near DC. Offer. Omani Maguase. I'm telling you. Okay? Yangopo yi ni self-free NDC for you. And someone the vice Becca. No, asense yachire. Asan Becca. Yana Yurad Makubefi, Cassin Yankopon, we in self-free so. Now one summer will come. I saw the Koboha now the Koboha. She, you got Mahamani and DC for Omukan who said, Ghana for a young Kwalao.
Mate, Ghana for na be decided so young Kwada na so mo eje enkwada. Ya Adomako Befi Frimpong, Food Soldiers President, MPP. Ya majo.
Pejo se yawo.
Apom.
Nyametiasi.
Meno natia ya tie speeches ahodo akoso ya na de oban tempa ya tie de os nyina sabre nondu apa usima enkron simansia edi animu ya odia
ya medasi etiefo mfa nchemi ebre no koyi mi fia me ko UTV ntimi monitor yaw enwumre yese sebi aprok megun shani mponi atikuma kodu na beso abribra ade a wo pe wonsa nyanka imponi na wo hwa nwumre no in terms of protocol ade are confused enti nya de so betimi do ho ato am so ka de minim ni se den se enka hihye mu no wo no ye wadi sen wo ye flag bearer no wo na oson ka se twato minim ne hihye se de sikoba ya se papa na na pentemu se de beti no pentemu ye ma ne kasa wieye ansa na ne running mate be kasae ansa na wo san edi asi akire but ho no enyem nwanwa sanse papa ye ne kasa mu no wa ma ye hunu bibi so hwe emre bi na small kan say edru campaign time say ya o say ye dey atroni kontompo efrefra obi a wo betmako online no abcnews.ga.com year 26 June 2020 on ka asem no o say dru edin kontompo ni atrofrafra eni nto no ankasa de say ya nwanwa kase a o san kase I'm not going to follow any order to okeka afrafra say the city no nti ampa okra afrafra de am nwanwa kese apart from say compare almost bibi ye bia anya well organized no. The second point is so a was MPP institution of say wotie nsam a NDC fo no e ka no a enya no kura ne wo mu ensam ne ye mienu ne edi kan no eye niema 2008 2012 2016 and omo kae ni nyina ye failed by repeated promises but the etosu mienu a ehu ni say MPP nsam a ye di kan aka ne de ya ye no sanu ntina no omo ta no omo ye photocopy dia be hye no ya obebu sam say bi ni den zongo and deprived yi on say nyame adum copy omo num say zongo and yi yewura Dr. Mustafa Ami. He is doing so well over there. Nana Danko Kufuado diaba. Na nyam ngwa said they are copying from MPP. Sansa yem party no Danko Dobo Buzia, Yan and Mrebia na de Pebiana a war meimono. Yen ye 2-1 among. Student loan trust. Ya omoka wansem yawe. Dia no ya hu hye dada. As a next academic enkra no omu nya guarantors. Ya Ghana card na is enough. Enti dia no omoka dia fa ho. Wasaka bio local or say local sports any one more bit to Mokania de Justin Koduamoshi Ada Roma and assassinated a tuabin Mokabaya. On a more serious note, no young Shamsem Bia, Papano or Kaye or Kaya, sorry, Yura Mama Kaye, ya, Siri pa Medicain Ashe, jobs, or say a Jumapa. Yaw answer na tief when him say MPP near the youth employment buy mo buy ya mo be change ediko gida no ne ekoba ya ne say mo gia no madi no mada e ho mfa so bi say buga pele any asibi to mo dem eni nti adwuma pa ben en wo kan ho asem me nim say na the teaching nya adwuma pa dia me nim say nursing enya adwuma nursing nya adwuma pa dia because 2012 to 2016 mo amfa ni pa bi adwuma da enti say MPP ban ya be fa wo mo na be si eche na ka chen say adwuma pa dia you are insulting the teachers. Meanwhile, NDC's manifesto 2008 P46 was say employment opportunities for all those who are willing and able to work. Yaw, asmo kan ye ema yete ye no. So bia na moje di mu afrisane na kotodwe enso ayi de. Onbe modern se be mu bia anya dwuma ye. By 2016 Yera mama kruye o kan samba ko a ene de adwuma no wate so eno so chese papa no sabi why confused because 2016 population no enemu de no do so che no now promise say obama ya adwuma 1 million 3 million na sende no odi aba 1 million na 1 million no kran so a odi ba no ye was 16 regions what the can akọ upper west akọche 250 in the 15 regions no voter region benya sen Ashanti benya sen central region benya sen yasem sebe kwatri kwaso amantuma tieni din eno eyade aya esiri yepa na so no ewo honom etiefo etie no am so enyina nim se de niema no esi ko o say I'll create 3 million jobs in second term John Mama 2016 year October 26 and o kan asem no ba kokura de o NDC manifesto 2012 page 21 was it create opportunities for work and study say wo ye adwuma wo university wo agi age ba bia pole no na nka wo ye adwuma na wo sa ko school eno amem ya osade no eto nchen a yenhwe ba ko bio wo say odi say airport o yade a oba sunyane airport if he doesn't know the first time was Santeman yet me unu say airport international be Kumasi na Danko Kufuado and na kohwa dan ya yesi no unlike ono no de odi akado be fifa ho no a o twa odi say catch wa ye kwan no na wanimu a Kumasi de no phase 2 and 3 ya 90% sunyani de oka ho asem no ya 50% under his excellency na Danko Akufuado na ya unim se terminal 3 no amanfo mpo nim se October 30th 2015 NDC ma contract MPP aban ene be wie no 29 June 2018 yen ene be yes project no if you doesn't know yaw yansha textile industry ya papai yewra mama o kasa asem na me ya pa etiefo entie ni pa ya krate kutami wo hwe August 15 2020 abcnews.gh.com no so yaw e wo honom ya pani ana oda ano ye friend Kenneth Asari onwa na agi atum say free SHS no na itimi ama o de say akoso mo textile gina
ne krakra
me wie no tie 2008 enyumre pa de everything am kan bia yaw ba ye ho adwuma wie duty free importation the enya no kra o say 2012 2008, rejuvenation of the textile industry in an integrated manner from seed production to spinning to gaining and printing. 2008 page 47. Textile industry was like on. Then you come to 2012. NDC manifesto 2012 page 41. Rejuvenation of the textile industry in an integrated manner from seed production to spinning to gaining and printing. The same statement 2012. Then you come to 2016. And also rejuvenation, redevelopment of the textile industry. NDC manifesto 2016 page 36. Quatriquas of amount to ma. Tienidin. No more diabewo yaw. Nyamepa anadwi nyina no me wie YouTube am kotran wa de be che no ye benyo mo the exact version de omo kan ye since 2008 bibi omo kan ye bia no mo antimi afa anya dwuma na de am nwanwa ye wura mama ka kire ense enne ye COVID-19 yaw I'm sorry sabe otakwado in America na nado danko akufuado enne the whole Africa bibrem ha nyina no na approach of this solve ye COVID-19 no enti no ye ne ye number 1 yenya 97.6%. Ghana number 1. The second country kra no a. Ya me yawie. Mane for no mama wie yaw. Second country South Africa. Omunya 88.1. Nigeria third. Womunya 78.2. Morocco. Womunya 77.9. Na sabanya otiso. The whole Africa, bibremo nyina 97.6. Awiase nyina ya bona baso na ya yembusa ne say cholera kra dia anka Togo na Nigeria. Ahaya efimene yen. Enipa say de wuye. Kwatikwaso amount ma tienidin.
Ya admako ba fifrem pon full soldiers president MPP abusia ena ene yedemo ebesie. The platform ene de munim say ekọ no some way. But ene nyina ense enti momfa ne se ne esi ekọ no no adum ruade de nkwane ahoden dom ye ne a afa na manifesto na to form ukuada ye ba hwehwem de omu bia asoso ye beka eho asem baako efa me na ya kese Isaac Odro Patricia Sefa Fisher kwabrantwe boysi akon okwabrane ena Pretty Joyce omo ena hihye adwumadi ma medi ho chiame abusia nyame eya adom a on the platform show ye be hia ukuada ide radio asumdwe jamu nyina ko husu ye na wankwa ankoye bibia ebe hawo na aha oman makramo